Hello, Ryan here, aka Mac, and welcome. Today we are finally going to take a look at all of the features and deliverables which had work finishing in the month of August. As always, a huge thank you to all of my patrons and channel members, in particular to my latest channel member, IIF Gypsy. Thank you so much for the support, it is truly appreciated. So each month I like to put together a video that takes a look at all of the work kicking off that month, but also finishing that month, just to keep us all more informed as to what work is going on in the background. Now, before we get to what work has been finished, just because a feature on the progress tracker has work beginning or completing in a particular month, does not necessarily mean that it will release that quarter, the next quarter, or even in that year, as there could still be more work required from other teams. For example, the downstream teams like audio, visual effects, and so on. Or even priorities can shift and it can get pushed back until needed. It is, however, a great guide to see what could potentially come to the persistent universe when, but at the very least, it shows us what work is being done at what time in the year. So with that said, my apologies in how long it's taken to get this video released, but I suppose better late than never. Let us take a look at all of the features and deliverables that had work ending in the month of August. So first off, we have a couple of AI deliverables, the first one being AI Medical, which is actually listed as the 3.15 feature that began rolling out with that patch. Now this is building upon the doctors in the hospitals and introducing patients and other staff members into the medical facilities to give more of a realistic experience, which, as we have heard in the latest monthly reports, could include NPCs sitting at consoles, doing admin work, examining patients, and restocking medical fridges. Now this work lasted 55 weeks, which should be done now, so I do suspect that we may see some of these behaviours, hopefully in 3.18, if not later on. The next AI deliverable is called Off-Duty Activities Sleeping, and this had 72 weeks work, which should have finished very early on in August, and it says it is a segment of the new civilian behavior system, controlling how AI sleeps, relaxes, and socializes in bed. And this supports single beds, bunk beds, and beds with the privacy shutters for the first iteration, which we have seen on the Squadron 42 vertical slice. Now, whether we see any of this in the PU is quite unlikely outside of medical beds, I suppose, unless you're just stood in someone's hab, as this is certainly more intended for Squadron 42, but also potentially NPCs that we hire as crew members eventually. Now, the next feature is one that we saw on Inside Star Citizen a little while ago, and it is the Commodity Kiosk, which is converting the commodity kiosks to utilize building blocks, which will then also add loading timers that will be needed to be factored into any cargo runs that we do. So this is one aspect of hauling that will really help to flesh that career mechanic out more. We know the initial release of the cargo refactor is coming with 3.18, and hopefully it also means that these kiosks will make it in when their work is done. So for 3.18 we could be seeing these new kiosks coming in, expanding this hauling profession somewhat with timers, and hopefully making it a lot more worthwhile. Now, this work on commodity kiosks lasted 84 weeks, which is a hell of a long time, and also involves the Systemic Services and Tools team, who are the team handling the background economy and quantum simulation, plus the USPU team, who are the ones working on the cargo refactor and freight elevators. So here's hoping that 3.18 makes hauling a much more desirable option, and fingers crossed we get to see these new commodity kiosks at the same time. So next up we have a deliverable called Cooperative Locomotion, which was originally released in Alpha 3.13 with the trolley push and pull feature. And this had 83 weeks work, which states allowing players to grab some larger objects and move them around an environment by either pushing or pulling it. So yet another mechanic that has had a lot of work gone into it, and most definitely needed for cargo and the cargo refactor, as all cargo from 3.18 onwards will be physical. So having multiple options on how to move the cargo to and from delivery points will be very much needed. Now, the current trolleys are not helpful at all, and it was mentioned by CIG that this is due to their small wheels, that they are not useful on rough terrain or anywhere outside of hangars. So CIG did state that hover trolleys will be a much better option here, so I'm really hoping and expecting to see more in way of objects to aid in the hauling of cargo, just moving things around location to and from our ships. And it all coincides nicely with the cargo refactor and commodity kiosks, which is certainly not a coincidence. So they have clearly been spending a long time trying to flesh out the hauling profession here, and I again really hope that 3.18 is the patch to just elevate the hauling profession to the next level to make it more viable. So next we have Doors, Airlocks and Light Panels UI, which is creating new user interfaces for door panels, airlocks and light panels using building blocks. So getting all of the UI interfaces created in building blocks, which will be part of all the ships, space stations and planetary hubs, and this has 15 weeks work that began in April and was completed early in August, and will just be a lot more functional while inside ships, being able to toggle door locks on and off, sensors on and off, and just be able to turn lights off, which will be important when the resource management system comes in. Now this next one is one that I am very excited for. It is called Persistent Hangars, which grants players the ability to have their own persistent hangar. It says it also brings changes to the cargo gameplay loop by allowing players to pack their own grids manually. Now this could be a prime example of work that may be completing in a certain month but not releasing anytime soon, as persistent hangars, which we heard recently, will likely require freight elevators, which has a lot of work remaining as this has only just kicked off its 35 weeks work. Whether we could get persistent hangars in the PU without freight elevators, I really hope so, but I don't know if CIG will just hold off until they are done with freight elevators to bring them in. But they are going to give players a personal hangar of their own that they can return to time and time again, placing their items, ships, cargo, whatever you want in your hangar anywhere you like, and having it persist there to go back and forth. So a really great addition that will kind of create a home for players, but potentially not something we will see this year, more likely next. But Persistent Hangars had 68 weeks work, which completed towards the end of August. So the next feature is not one that overly excites me, but should be interesting in fleshing out the various characters in the verse and locations. It is Shopkeeper Outfits, which is implementing new generic shopkeeper uniforms for various NPCs in the Persistent universe. So basically outfits to establish more of a worker look for each store rather than just wearing civilian clothes like the rest of the population. Again, not a huge update, but one that I will appreciate for sure, but this only had 6 weeks work from the character art team. Now, there is one unannounced vehicle on the progress tracker which has work ending in August, but this is with the vehicle concept art team, and most likely intended for the IAE in November or the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo, so not likely a straight to flyable, just a concept sale which had 19 weeks work ending in early August. So next up we have Unified Item Ports FPS, and this is referring to the attachment points on armors and such, where we can place weapons, gadgets and tools. And it says, renaming and standardizing character item ports to properly represent their capabilities. This includes expanding their capabilities to allow for more types of equipment to be used on current item ports. So a nice quality of life improvement to provide more options maybe with customizing our characters and hopefully fixing any issues that we see with them in the process. It only had 8 weeks work and was completed back in late August. Now this next deliverable is called Visor Lens Rework, which is converting the visor and the lens system to building blocks for improved performance and flexibility. So as you can imagine, the visor is referring to helmet visors, and the lens is meaning your contact lens that provides kind of a small amount of HUD when you're not wearing a helmet. And this firstly involves converting them to the new building blocks tech, plus fixing any bugs or issues, but what I really hope to see is the ability to remove your contact lens and go completely HUD free. Now I'm hoping this will be the case, as you can see the contact lenses are on display in the Microtech flagship store at New Babbage, and I think that this could provide a lot of variety of different lenses to help in various areas of the verse, like what they plan to do with helmet visors, having combat specific or mining specific helmets, which provide contextual HUD elements for whatever it is that you're planning to do. And I think giving this new level of customization would be great for gameplay reasons, specifically something like bounty hunting. So instead of wearing a bounty hunting specific helmet, which could have you sticking out like a sore thumb when you're trying to track down a bounty in a crowded planetside, but instead having a bounty hunting specific contact lens could allow you to blend in more, but still have a minimal contextual HUD, allowing you to maybe scan targets. Just a thought on my end, and I wouldn't be surprised if this is something CIG are planning already, but I just wanted to put that out there. But yeah, very excited to see the visor and lens rework come in, and hopefully it means a lot more bespoke helmet HUDs for the various types of activities that we have. Now, to finish with, we have a couple of Squadron 42 specific deliverables. The first one is the Character Creator, which is developing the player character creator for the Squadron 42 single player campaign. Now, this is pretty exciting to hear, as to me it kind of gives the impression that they are getting to the point where this is going to be needed. But also, once done for Squadron 42, many of the assets, the tools, the options, and the player-facing UI, which will be somewhat different for the persistent universe, I'm sure, but the functionality will be there and they can bring that over. And the character creator in the persistent universe right now is very rudimentary, and I know CIG wants all kinds of customization, like scars, tattoos, beards, and anything else you can think of. So it'll be really interesting to see what this Squadron 42 creator looks like. Although as you are serving in the military, the range of customization will be somewhat restricted, I'm certain of. And for the final Squadron 42 deliverable, we have the Animatable gunner helmet, which has been pushed time and time again for the last few months, but appears to have finally completed its work, and this is creating an animated and EVA capable version of the gunner helmet. Now, what I love about this helmet is that it is animated, which makes me think of games like Dead Space, where the helmet has that animation going on where it will fold away. So maybe here there is a lens or a visor that can open and close, or perhaps it can go from targeting mode to EVA mode and completely sealing the wearer inside. But this will likely be the helmet that paves the way for all manner of animated helmets in the persistent universe as well. So I'm really excited to see one day what this is all about. Maybe in Squadron 42 first, but more likely we will see animated helmets in the PU. Now this had 62 weeks work from 4 different teams that finished early to mid-August. So there you have it, that is all of the work that came to completion in the month of August, quite a lot, and many of which have been ongoing for years. So great to finally see many of these coming to fruition, getting completed, and allowing those teams to finally move on to other stuff. The work ending in September will likely be the next video in this series, as I've already released the work starting in September, which I will link below. But there was a lot of stuff ending in August, and much of it, if not all of it, pretty exciting. But with that said, if you do enjoy my videos, please do consider subscribing and helping the channel to grow. Also, come and hang out over at twitch.tv/supermacbrother. You are all more than welcome over there, whether you are new to the verse, old to the verse. If you've got any questions, it is a great place to get them asked. Hit the thumbs up if you don't mind, it does the channel a big favour, and tick that notification bell if you'd like to be notified when my videos go live. Again, a huge thank you to my patrons and channel members. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.